Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. In today's show, I got the team's biggest needs. And if you need daily Raiders videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click that big red button below. All right, let's get it started. The Raiders' biggest need, and it should not surprise anybody, it's wide receiver. And we need to be able to get a legit number one for Carr, heck, for anybody that lines up underneath center for us this year. I would even argue that you could select at least two, heck, maybe even three receivers in this year's draft. There's been news, there's been rumors around this team taking two receivers, heck, in the first round. So for me, when I think about all that we've talked about this entire offseason, we've talked about getting Carr an option. The other thing that I think is funny, a lot of people blame Derek. I don't know if you saw that stat. The Raiders, the last 6 seasons, have been top 5 in drop passes. Now, I like Tyrell Williams. Zay Jones is pretty good. Hunter Renfrow. But if you add a number one like a CeeDee Lamb, like a Henry Ruggs, like a Jerry Jeudy, it looks a lot better. But what is the one thing that we've talked about the last 2 years? Derek Carr. You can't do it anymore. This is the year where we need to figure out whether or not he can carry this team and whether or not he can lead us to the playoffs and hopefully a Super Bowl. Give him a number one option because I do not want to have to talk about this next offseason. And if you don't give him a number one option, guess what? We're going to be talking about it next offseason. That one's for Chucky Heads. Believe it, baby. So when I see the top 5 receivers in this year's class, I do think that there's a little bit of a drop-off after Henry Ruggs. I like Justin Jefferson. You guys know that I'm a big fan of Denzel Mims. But at pick number 12, my eyes are locked in on CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs. And then if we have to settle for Justin Jefferson or Denzel Mims at 19, well, I guess that's something that we might have to consider. Now, every single person that watches this video, I know y'all bleed silver and black. And if you need Raiders football in your life, type Raider Nation for life in the comments section. My goal for this video, 1,000 comments. My bosses said I couldn't do it. I said, wait a minute. You're talking about the nation, right? 1,000 comments is going to be easy. So if you need Raiders football in your life, type Raider Nation for life. The second biggest need here for this team, it's cornerback. And I wasn't super excited, and I know a lot of y'all weren't either when we went out and got Eli Apple. The only thing about Eli Apple, he at least added some depth. And when I think about Trayvon Mullen, I have a lot of confidence in him. But we still need a cornerback, too, realistically, that I would feel comfortable pairing with Mullen. Last season and last 2 seasons, normally if I see the number 69, I say nice. But I think we can all agree, allowing 69 passing touchdowns the last 2 seasons, that's not nice whatsoever. But if you can get a number 2 corner, I think that this makes our depth chart look a lot better. I want LaMarcus Joyner to play better in the nickel. I like the signing of Randall and I like, obviously, Jonathan Abram. But Isaiah Johnson, only his second year. Nixon, entering his second year. I just don't have a lot of confidence in some of these other players at cornerback. So for me, I really want this team to go out and get a corner at either 19. Hey, if Jeff Okudah slips and falls to us at 12, would absolutely love that. But I'm a big fan of Christian Fulton. Jeff Gladney, I think, would be a little bit of a reach at 19, but he is up there. And then Trayvon Diggs. Regardless, if we go wide receiver at pick 12, I think then you got to look at going out and getting one of these top cornerbacks, or heck, maybe even going out and signing a top cornerback, as I talked about yesterday in my rumor show. So what's the Raiders' biggest need? Today's show is all around the needs. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, you might get hit with an ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down. And this show is about honesty. So give me your honest opinion on what the Raiders' biggest need is. Safety, number 3 here on Raiders needs, and you need to add depth behind Jonathan Abram and Damarious Randall. I think Abram and Randall are both going to bring the lumber. They're going to be 2 very solid starters. I like Eric Harris, and I'm a big fan of Jeff Heath, especially what both of those players can do for special teams. However, Harris, he's 30 years old. Heath is 28. They're not long-term options. And when I see of all the young players that we've invested in on this team, you need to go out and find some long-term options. I think one of the biggest reasons why the Raiders were ranked dead last year, giving up 16 passes of 40-plus yards, was because of confusion and not knowing what's going on over the top. What does that stem from? That stems from free safety play, strong safety play, not knowing what you're doing. Let's go out. Let's get a top player either in free agency or, in my opinion, the draft to really address that issue. Now, Grant Delpit, Xavier McKinney, Antoine Winfield, these are three players that I've had mocked to the Raiders before. Heck, even Kyle Duggar. I like all these players. I think they'd be good options for us. However, I don't know if I would reach for an Ashton Davis in second round because I think Duggar, Davis, they're probably going to end up going in the second. Winfield, McKinney, Delpit, they're all going to be first-round options. Now, we all know that it's Raiders against the world. That one's 24/7, 365 days out of the year. And if you want to go rep this t-shirt, go to chatsports.com/RaidersWorld. It's only $24.99. But a lot of times when you go to that link, they just randomly put out deals. Like the other day I checked, it was only $19.99. I think last week it was $18.79. So go to the link. If you can't remember that it's chatsports.com/RaidersWorld, I'll put it in the description. I'll put it in the comments. And when you get the shirt, send it to me. I always throw it out on my IG, which you guys can find below. Let's go to the next biggest need here for this team. It's linebacker. And I said the entire offseason, linebacker entering free agency was this team's biggest need. And we addressed it. We addressed it very nicely, going out and getting Cory Littleton, going out and getting Nick Kwiatkoski. And they're both going to be solid starters. However, we are still lacking that legit depth that I know Mike Mayock has talked about multiple times this offseason. I like me some Kyle Wilber. He's a solid player. I like Markel Lee. Heck, I even think that a player like Coney could step up. But without Vontaze Burfict there, I do think that you're looking at a team that does need some extra options at the linebacking position. Because if you want to be able to cover running backs underneath, if you want to be able to cover that tight end down the seam, this is really when your players are needed the most, especially at linebacker. So for me, I think of the top linebackers in this year's class. I've seen us mocked Patrick Queen, Kenneth Murray, two players that we've talked about in bunches at 19. Zach Bond to me is actually a little bit more of an edge rusher. And then Malik Harrison, he kind of was there at 5. If I had a player 6 graphic, I would probably throw in Willie Gay Jr. And number 1 is Isaiah Simmons. And Isaiah Simmons might be my favorite player in this year's draft that's realistic for the team. However, if you're going to go up and get Isaiah Simmons, you're probably going to have to trade your pick 12, a third rounder, and your 4th round pick. So what's the Raiders' bigger need? Because this one was tough for me. Defensive line, or is it running back? It was really difficult. Go in the comments section. Let's get to 1,000 comments and let me know what the bigger need is. I'm going to tell you right after this YouTube ad break. So let's first talk about running back. Obviously, we have Josh Jacobs, and we can all agree that Josh Jacobs should have won Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. We re-signed Jalen Richard, 2 years, $7 million, can make up to $8 million. I think we have one of the best fullbacks in the NFL in Alec Ingold. We did re-sign Rod Smith, and it is expected that we are not going to bring back Isaiah Crowell. I think when you think about running back, you don't really think about replacing Josh or Jalen. You just got to keep them fresh. So let's also talk about, though, the defensive line, where we did get a lot better in free agency. You go out, you get a Daniel Ross. You sign Malik Collins. P.J. Hall played a lot better last year. Maurice Hurst, he played a lot better last year. On the edges, Max, he had 10 sacks. Cleveland Ferrell, yes, he still needs to come into his own a little bit. But you also signed Nassib. Hopefully Artie Key can get it together. I mean, this Raiders defensive line depth chart is getting a lot better. But when I listen to the most common news and rumors, the one position that seems that we need to address, according to everyone else, is defensive tackle. Now, I don't think PFF is the end-all, be-all, but this is based on 114 defensive tackles. As you can see, Mo Hurst, 28th. P.J. Hall, 38th. I mean, that's better than players like Ndamukong Suh, Gerald McCoy. Malik Collins, Hankins is a little bit more of a run stopper, but is defensive tackle one of our biggest needs? I actually think that running back is a bigger need than defensive line. If you don't like it, guess what? You can yell at me at Mitchell Renz 365. The reason why I put running back here, our biggest asset on offense is Josh Jacobs. Our offense is a run-first offense. I know we talk about Derek Carr all the time. I know we talk about wide receiver all the time. But let's not get it twisted. Running back, Josh Jacobs, keep him healthy. That's how we're going to win football games. So, and I think if we're going to target a running back, it's going to be in rounds 3, 4, and 5. And if you listen to the show, if you go and look at the latest news and rumors, these are the 5 running backs that the Raiders are targeting. And I'm telling you that straight up. They want somebody that can keep Josh Jacobs healthy and fresh. And in terms of value, these are the 5 players that you need to keep in mind. So here are the Raiders' biggest needs. I have it ranked as the biggest wide receiver. A close second is cornerback. Then there is a little bit of a drop-off at safety, linebacker, and at running back. Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky Heads, news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors. And look at this, I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.